Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Inside Wayzata Podcast. Today, we are talking high school, back to business has happened, and we'll be bringing that energy back into the building. I'm joined today by Tyler Shepard, who's the associate principal at the high school, Alicia Pierce-Scala, who is a math teacher at the high school, and Emily Hauk, who is an academic mentor, link crew coordinator, former math teacher, just basically does everything at the high school. And they're going to join us today and talk about back to school at the high school. So thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. So Tyler, what does the first week of school actually feel like at Wayzata High School?
First week of the high school should feel really high energy. First day is all freshmen back. More of an orientation type of experience, a lot of movement, a lot of activities. Students will navigate their schedule for the first time. But before that, they start with an assembly. They get to know their link leaders and really just get a better feel for what the building feels like, how to navigate lunch, how to take care of a lot of those first day feelings, and kind of give them more of a VIP experience, knowing that the upperclassmen will be at home that day. To really give the entire building to the freshmen to navigate those first day feelings.
And that's a relatively new thing that you've been doing, right?
Yeah, I think this will be year 2,
Okay.
maybe year 3.
This is the second year, right?
I think it's year 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's also a neat opportunity because, all of our teachers are back. The entire staff will be there. So we picture 300 plus staff members there to support just our incoming ninth grade class. It's a pretty neat feeling, and we can really showcase that energy.
Emily, how have you noticed that being impactful for incoming freshmen to have that day where it's really all about them?
Well, I think the biggest change that I was so excited about when we got to do it is just to have the teachers there to enjoy this excitement and to get to know the kids. I think it helps put the students at ease when they have the opportunity to just not worry about anything academic. We just get to go around school. We get to have so much fun, meet all our teachers, and have that cohesive message like, we are here for you. We are going to have fun together and work through this together.
And Alicia, for you, you've been away from the high school for a few years and are coming back. So in a way, it's almost like a first day of school for you too. So what are you feeling as you prepare for that first day and think about welcoming the new freshmen into the building?
I also feel like a ninth grader, just a new student to the school, even though I think I did 12 years at the high school and then 3 years away, and now I'm coming back. The high school ninth graders are my people. Like, I'm very excited to be back with them, and I missed them. So in a way, I'm also very excited. And as much as I shouldn't work over the summer, I want to get back into it because I want to be ready for my students. So of course, always a little nervous, just like a student would be, as you're trying to think about how is my first day going to go? What kind of things am I going to be doing? Is there anything that I'm going to have to that will surprise me? But I'm excited.
Tyler, you've been an associate principal for how long at the high school?
10 years.
Do you still feel like some nerves on that first day? What are your feelings like personally?
Yeah, it's just always exciting. I'd say, to meet the new students. We have just over 30 new staff members that we've been onboarding. So a lot of new faces in the building. And then just working with teachers the week prior, workshop week, to really help to, I guess, create that energy for the first day and for the first week of school. We really recognize that those first impressions matter, and we want students. I always tell families, like, that first day, students are going to come home tired. That's a good sign because they're going to be moving so much. It's not like, they're not going to be sitting in class for our 90-minute blocks like a typical day. Lots of movement. And the number one most asked question that we got prior to doing this freshman orientation day was, how does my student navigate lunch? Or what lunch do I have? How do I know how to get lunch? Where do I sit? So a lot of those questions and other types of questions that are related to that first day experience is exciting because we can navigate those questions with our ninth graders, and hopefully they don't feel as intimidated knowing that those upperclassmen, juniors and seniors are also there. Maybe just feeling less pressure.
And then what is day 2 like? So day 1, it's all about freshmen, the staff kind of coming together, supporting those new students. And then the next day, it's everyone's in the building. So what is that day like for you in terms of like energy in that space?
I mean, I think it's just the energy continues. So we have all the rah-rah, the fun assembly, but then we get everybody there. And then so it's like our family is here and we get to know each other. And I think the students get to go to their classes. They get to get into that routine and get to know their teachers, their classmates, the expectations. I think a lot of teachers really prioritize building community in the classroom on that day, helping the students understand what they're going to need to do. I think it's another day where we're kind of grounding in this is what we do around here. But it's always so much fun when our halls are filled to the brim with kids.
Well, and this is a unique year because we're starting early, August, and then we have a 4-day week. We have a nice long weekend, and then we come back again for a short week. It's like we have 2 4-day weeks. For upperclassmen, it's going to feel even shorter. But hopefully students will have more time to maybe rejuvenate after that first week.
It's like a soft launch almost.
Yeah, exactly. Soft launch, yeah.
Alicia, if you can take a moment and think back to your first day of high school, like what advice would you give yourself as a incoming freshman, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, if I think to my first day of high school, man, I was a young self. And even just every day of my first day of high school, I would give the same advice ever since. It's just be brave in talking to someone you don't know. You might know a third of the students in your classes, and that's great, but you might not get to sit with your best friend in every class, and that's even better. Just be brave, talk to somebody new. Don't be afraid to share a little bit about yourself or learn something about somebody new. And I think a lot of the classes do a lot of work in mixing kids up. There's a big focus on learning names, building community, and learning to work with everybody. And so it's just, I would say, don't be worried about a loss of friendships, that you will, over the course of those first few weeks, meet kids from a new school that become your best friends for the rest of high school.
Now, if a student starts and, there's a lot going on, right? How can students get that additional support? And you help facilitate the link crew. What is the link crew and how does that fit into all this?
Well, I just will start by saying I think we have an immense support system. And so students should not be afraid of whether or not they'll be able to get help. They might have too many options. So just to talk to either teachers, student support teams who will be able to help them. So I guess let's start with Link Crew. Link Crew is a program where we utilize upperclassmen who are leaders. They're trained in leadership. Like we talk about what leadership is. We talk about how we lead every day to make our school community better. So our Link leaders run our orientation day on the first day of school. So they're trained in some small group curriculum where they're building community and getting to know the students. They're also giving tours. They're helping students find their way. Our Link leaders also support the 9th graders on our 9th grade retreat day, which is, I think, September 24th this year, where we do it's almost a full day with Youth Frontiers. And we're talking about respect of each other and what it means to be an upstanding citizen. So we've got these Link leaders, about 200 of them, and they're all charged with doing something to give back to our school community throughout the school year. Most of them feed into our academic mentor program. And academic mentors are student leaders who are supporting student belonging and learning in the classroom. So they'll be paired with a content area teacher. And we go all contents because there's a need for additional help in every class that we have. And we do this K-12. So they go into a classroom, they work alongside a teacher, getting to know that classroom community and supporting the students who have extra questions or just need like a buddy to help them engage. So that's the biggest way that they give back. Most of that is done during the school day, but we do have volunteer academic mentors who are available before and after school who can support students in a more like one-on-one, kind of more of a tutoring type fashion. And I'm blanking on what else we do there. We go over to some of the middle schools to support over there as well. That's during the school day, but we're trying to foster those long-term connections. We have a lot of support available, and those are just the students helping students. I think Tyler can speak even better to what the student support teams do.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. So the high school, like your support looked like you have a principal, you have a counselor. It's kind of it, right? So explain the student support model at the high school and how robust that is.
Yep. So we often say that students will have an army of support, and they really do. In addition to all the student supports, there's plenty of adult support as well. We have our student support teams in each floor office that are, I guess, designated by a student's last name. So you may hear the first floor office is A through FJ. That means students that have a last name that starts with A through FJ. Will use that office as kind of their home base for all 4 years of high school. In that office, they'll find their counselor, they'll find their social worker, they'll find their achievement specialist, and they'll find their dean of students, in addition to administrative support, as that one-stop hub for anything related to, social, emotional, mental health, navigating school schedules, navigating college applications, getting ready for that next step, navigating academics, working with teachers, navigating behaviors. Sometimes when conflict arises, how to navigate getting through some of that, normal high school conflict. And then on top of that, we also have our administration office, which also has our associate principals and principals in there. But for the most part, students can go to their floor office at any point over their 4 years of their high school career and find their support, in addition to all their teacher supports and the student supports that Emily mentioned. We also have a feature in our hub, which students will learn about on their first day. It's an online tool that allows for students to see both when the student tutors or academic mentors are available for support before and after school, but also when their teachers are available before and after school to almost sign up and give their teachers a heads up that they need the support and that they're coming in, and to know when their teachers are available.
From your perspective, so you on the administration side, you kind of see a picture of all this, right? How does the kind of the staff student support work kind of with the support that Link Crew or these student mentors? How do they work together to support students?
I would just say that we're all a team. We're closely working together to make sure that students can access those resources, knowing that there's a lot to access and navigate. Our counselor ratios are right around 300 students. So those counselors, as that point of contact, get to know their students quite well. And then within our teams, we work on a weekly basis to support students with whatever aspects of high school they need the additional support with. We have new students enroll. We talk with Emily or her co-advisor, one of our school counselors, Jen Landy, on making sure that a link leader is assigned to new students to help new students navigate experiencing the high school for the first time. And just things like that. If we identify as a support team that a student needs additional support in, say, Spanish or Algebra 2 or biology, we're going to reach out to Emily or her co-teachers and ask, which mentors are available and can they come in to support this student? Or is there a mentor available after school that also can support the student when they're outside of that class?
And Alicia, from your perspective as a teacher, what does support look like outside of like typical classroom instruction for you? So if a student is like, hey, I need some help with, like, I wasn't very good at math in high school. So I was like, I need some extra help in this. Like, where does your role fit in kind of between the administration, student support, and like the student mentor support?
I think a big piece of the pie is that the student leaders and the staff, they all know the big resources and the pool that's available. And so it's just helping students know what some of those options are. Students, and especially ninth graders, don't remember all these different pieces that we have as possibilities. And it's a job as a staff member to, when I hear something, say, oh, there's a few things I'm thinking of that I know about you might want to talk about or look into. Perhaps you want to meet with an academic mentor and get a little bit of one-on-one tutoring at a time schedule that fits you. Perhaps you want to go and meet with your counselor, and I can show you how to make that appointment. Perhaps your counselor will recommend that you meet with somebody else, and they can. So there's like a cookie trail or a breadcrumbs trail of like people that know what to do and where to go. Things that I would do is definitely just offer the time to students, right? Hey, do you want to come in before school? Let's talk. We can work on math. We can talk about anything going on in life. I remember I had one student who would love to just come in before or after school, between classes, and we talked about all sorts of things. We talked about board games that we liked. He taught me about how video games are designed, and was drawing stuff all over my boards that I had no idea. So just again, building connections, and then offering math support, obviously, any academic support, either during some work time in the classroom, before and after school. Teachers are available. They want to be there to help you. No teacher is saying, you can't come to me, please go pay for a tutor. That never happens. Like, we are there and we want to support students and help them in making growth in the skills.
Well, and those connections are like a very special thing. I think about traditional schooling from, our high school experiences where likely you have a question, you ask the teacher. If you need support, you stay after school. There's this really, really special connection that's made between these upperclassmen who are acting as mentors and working with the students to provide that support. Because students can tell things to students in very different ways from teachers. Can you speak a little bit about what that looks like, or how that special connections are formed?
Yeah, well, and I want to highlight with that another support that we haven't discussed yet is our win time. So every single class has at least 50 minutes a week built in for support inside of that class time. And that's when our mentors are often heavily utilized. So one of the things that we've added on in the last couple of years to the mentor program is having these on-call mentors. So they're mentors that work with me directly, and then we help in different spaces. So we have like this little small army of kids who can push into classrooms and help additionally as needed. What we've seen with some of our mentors is kids who may be disengaged or have some walls built up with teachers because of whatever reason. Like, there's so many reasons that students find it hard to engage and build relationships. Sometimes the student leader is the one who can break down those barriers because they come in as a peer. There's not the pressure that there is with the teacher, because some kids don't ask teacher questions because they're afraid they're going to get it wrong, even though that's what we want them to ask questions, but sometimes that fear is really there. Yeah. And so those student leaders are just able to come in from a different angle. And when I train them, we really talk through how important it is to build that relationship and safety first, because kids need to know you care before they're going to be willing to learn from you. So they take the time to get to know them and learn about who they are outside of school before they're providing that academic support. And so I think that's why they're so effective, is because they're closer to being in their shoes than we are. We're looked at as the old fogies up there, and so they build that relationship, and then they're able to really successfully support students as that guide on the side.
And what is the flip side that you've seen for upperclassmen in terms of what they get out of it? Because we've talked a lot about how, freshmen and other students are supported through all these different ways, but what do these mentors get out of the experience for them?
That makes me tear up. They get so much out of it. They learn that they matter. And that it makes me tear up because we have some students who come in and they already know that they're incredibly talented. And then we have some students who don't see their gifts until they start helping others. And so they learn that how they show up matters, and that their presence can literally impact someone going from maybe not even graduating to finding success. And so they find purpose, they find relevance. And sometimes, and this is the best case scenario, they decide they want to be teachers, and then they come back and they work with us. I've got one right now who's hopefully going to come back in a couple of years. He's going to be a math teacher. So that's the cream of the crop right there.
Well, and in case parents or our community members are wondering, like from the outside perspective, I'm out and about in a lot of classrooms, and it's super cool to walk into a classroom because it feels like there's multiple teachers. There's even multiple student teachers supporting students in the days of like sitting and like sit and get type instruction. Like those days are gone. Our students are up and moving. They're rarely sitting for 90 minutes. And when they're up and moving, these students are moving all over the place and providing support to the students in the class. It's almost like a two-way relationship, and it's everywhere. We're not talking 30 students that Emily is working with as mentors. We're talking close to 1,000 this school year.
Wow.
Students that'll be providing that support for their peers. It's a pretty amazing thing.
And the one thing I will add is the other thing that's in it for the student leaders who do this, they become much more proficient in that content by helping others. Like if you think about learning, if you can synthesize and explain something to someone else, you have truly learned that content. So they really, I mean, they're winning from the holistic development as a person, but then they're also winning because they're going back with the content they've already taken and getting even better at it. So it's a win-win-win. Send them my way.
And I guess we've been focusing a bit on like the mentorship program, but to connect it back to the first day of school and the first week of school, a lot of the students that are link leaders are also mentors. And really the culture of our building is that students are supporting students. Yes, teachers and staff members are supporting students as well, but the culture there is really student to student. And I think our ninth graders and any student that's new to the building in a couple of weeks here is going to feel that from day one because it's so ingrained in what we do.
And I think something special about high school that many students haven't got to experience yet is that outside of their core curriculum classes, you can have a class with mixed grades. So you might have a class with 10th or 11th grade or 12th grade students in it, especially in some of those electives. And there's power in already knowing kids, from previous years that might be a grade above or below you, and in saying, oh, my mentor is in this class, or my link leader is in this class, or, oh, I see them wearing a link leader shirt. That's someone I might know or be able to talk to. So just a way for kids to connect outside of their grade level.
Do you find that younger students are inspired by mentors or link leaders then to become that themselves as they get older?
Yes.
So it comes like this snowball effect in a positive way of the way you phrase it, students supporting students. It's amazing.
And sometimes they get so excited they ask to start doing it in 10th grade.
They do.
That's true.
It's usually juniors and seniors, but we do have a few sophomores that even step into that role at times. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So if a parent is listening, there's obviously different ways we touched on a little bit for students to find support. How do students find any of the support? And then on the flip side, like if parents are like, how do I connect directly with staff to get support for my student?
I would say that their first probably point of contact is going to be the student's teacher and or the student support team. So each student's assigned to one counselor, one dean, one social worker, one achievement specialist, and one associate principal. And we're all here to help families navigate that exact scenario. If they don't hear back from a teacher, or if it's just difficult to get in touch with a teacher, we can certainly be that point of contact to get in touch with that person. But we also have access to all the student mentors. We have access to the link leaders and all these different programs, whether or not be students or adults, to really just help families navigate, because it is a lot. And when we say an army of support, we really mean it. We're a large building. We have many, many staff members there to support, and it can be a lot to navigate. So I'd say go to your student support team first as that point of contact.
Yeah. And they're great at reaching out. So if a support team member says, I have this student, they need support with fill in the blank, they'll usually email me and say, do you have a mentor available before and after school? Or is there a mentor in that class? And could they focus in on this student? So just reiterate, reach out to the student support team, and we behind the scenes will work to make sure that they get the support they need.
That's great. Okay, let's talk about new things happening at Wayzata High School this year. One thing is new math curriculum. So what does that mean? Like when we say there's new math going on?
Yeah. Okay. For an adult, that most parents would have gone through a sequence like I take 9th grade algebra, then I take geometry, then I take algebra 2, then I take pre-calculus. And if somewhere along the way I was able to get a little advanced, I might move on to calculus. We still have classes similar to that. However, there's been a little bit of a shift. And a couple of reasons for the shift. There's new state standards, and one of the main focuses is data and statistics. In the world of technology, kids need a lot more experience with navigating technology as a tool to support them in calculations, spreadsheets, a lot of statistics. So we have created a course and hold on, let me start this again. Separated courses, instead of being a full semester of algebra, a full semester of geometry, a full semester of algebra 2, we've broken them up into just terms. So it's 1 quarter of the year, and you'll take a topic, and it follows a sequence that would best support students in the skills that they have already. So I'm going to be teaching the first statistics class, Statistics 1 of 9th graders, where they're learning how to find a line of best fit, how to make a histogram, like a bar graph, and reviewing some of those algebra skills from 8th grade that are most important moving forward into the higher levels. And then students will also take a bit of geometry, which again is academically ready at the 9th grade level before they move on to 10th grade, where they'll get a second dose of some of these courses. So it's weaving the skills throughout the different grade levels. Anything you would add to that?
I would just say that the big picture view is to make math relevant and practical. It's really considering the fact that math is everywhere in our world, and we often hear from people that math is just not my thing, or it's always been very hard for me. It's considering, and I was in that same boat as you, it's considering how math is everywhere in our world, especially with technology and the things that we navigate on a daily basis, and it's bringing that relevance through to the class, so it isn't just sit and do multiplication and other types of problems and be done. It's making it relevant and practical.
Yeah, I think we can all probably think back to when we were in high school, and maybe it's because, I work in communication, so obviously math wasn't like a strong suit, but you think of like, all right, go buy a graphing calculator, and you sit through these classes, and, and you think about like what you're learning, and it was always just like, when am I ever going to use this? So from what you're saying is like, there's been a focus on making it relevant to the day-to-day lives of students and preparing them for what they're going to encounter.
100%. Yeah. Connecting the why do I need to know this, and what are real examples of when I might use this as an adult. And for my course specifically around statistics, technology, and it's like finance.
Yeah. So as we think about a new math curriculum, this isn't developed overnight, right? So what is the process from unwinding years and years of the typical way math has been taught to now teaching it in this new, exciting way?
And there's things that happen behind the scenes that I, as the teacher, don't always know about. But we have a curriculum director or coordinator, and they went through 8 curriculums, vetted them out, narrowed it down. Then they included the teachers. We had presentations from each of the curriculums. We narrowed it down to 3. We test piloted them in some classrooms to see how they felt for teachers and students. And then we finally narrowed it down to this is the one that we want. And the goal is to use this curriculum for 7 to 10 years, knowing that and what I say by the one that we want is that it is not a teacher delivering notes, just standing and talking, and now kids go and try the problems. It has students exploring, students grappling with, trying things, looking for patterns, being kind of the leaders of the learning, where the teacher is facilitating and supporting while they work together.
Something else I'd like to highlight with what we do at the high school in regards to math. We made the shift a few years back. We read a book by Peter Liljedahl called Building Thinking Classrooms. And it's about the power, and he did all this research about engagement and attention to even difficult tasks, depending on where students are doing the work. And vertical whiteboards is the most effective way for students to learn and try new things, because they do more when they're moving, okay? And also when it's an impermanent surface. So we as a math department have been making this shift. I would say we've always been evolving, and this has been one of the greatest things we've done, I think, in the last 5 years, is to really move towards utilizing that strategy in all of our classrooms to get students up and talking and trying new and at times difficult things. And it works really well with the curriculum that we've chosen because they've got these deeper thinking questions that rely on you being able to work with someone else. So we've got this great curriculum that's going to support all that. And we've got teachers who feel strongly about making math relevant, meaningful, and we don't want the sit and get. We want it to be active and fun and engaging.
It's not something that happens overnight. How long does this process take to come up with a new curriculum?
I mean, definitely more than a year. I would say at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been more.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting on the state standards for many years. There's been a few, variations of it, some drafts that committees reviewed at the state level and even at our school level. But the instructional shifts have been going on for many years. I think back to, 10 years ago when I started as an AP, and back then we were starting to talk about productive struggle and, flipping the classroom around to where students were really leading their learning. It wasn't sit and get. And that has only been progressing, to Emily's point, with the vertical whiteboards where students are standing, they're really problem solving together. We do this thing called random groupings. So students are always with new students. They don't really feel that risk as much in terms of maybe making a mistake or learning from failure when it comes to mathematics. And that has just allowed us to be maybe more ready for changes as it relates to curriculum. And then all that curriculum stuff happens somewhat behind the scenes until we're ready to pilot it. Teachers are involved throughout the process, along with the district teaching and learning department, to find what's best. But it really comes down to what's happening in the classroom that's going to matter most.
And I want Tyler to speak one more time about one of the things that was important to us was this curriculum pairs so well with our portrait of a grad and kind of some of those life skills that we want students to be experiencing in our classroom.
Yep, and that just fits to the relevance piece. We want students to be prepared for whatever it is after high school that they choose. So this curriculum provides that connection in more of a problem-solving, hands-on life skills way. Mm-hmm. It really prepares students for whatever's next.
Yeah, and based on what you had just said and how long the curriculum will be part of Wayzata High School, it sounds like you'll be able to adapt it and evolve it, because we know the world is changing so rapidly. You'll be able to adapt it and evolve it based on everything, right?
Yep. And our ninth graders won't probably feel like a lot of instruction is different. Yes, the curriculum will be different, but they've been experiencing some of these shifts with vertical learning and things along those lines in the middle schools for the last couple of years as well. It's really a team approach.
They don't have something to compare it to.
Yeah,
They're new.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish math was like that when I was in high school. Sounds amazing. All right, few rapid fire questions before we close. I'm going to have all of you answer these questions. Favorite place at the high school?
I mean, my office and the media center / Trojan Student Union, because that's like our hub of help. It's where I get to work with the mentors and get to see them helping other students.
What about you, Alicia?
My favorite spot is the new A-Wing, which I don't think has a better name yet. It's still just called new A-Wing. That's been there forever. And at any level, they have great flexible seating and just comfort. Feels like home.
My initial thought is the cafe or the cafeteria area. It's just a large space. Thousands of students can be in one place at one time. High energy, along with our Trojan head. Our Trojan head is a terminology we use for the main entrance, where students will congregate during passing time. That is also a high energy area. That's often difficult to get through during passing time, but lunches are really exciting. There's a lot of activity happening, and when you get 1,000+ students in one place, it's pretty neat to be able to experience.
What is one high school tradition that students shouldn't miss?
They don't really have an option to miss the first day of school. So, I mean, that's a pretty awesome tradition that I think we've started and will continue. Aside from that, there's a lot of energy around homecoming. the homecoming football game. We have a block party beforehand. We'll have an assembly that week, and then we end it with the dance. I think just becoming involved in those celebrations is one aspect, along with just getting involved in anything related to clubs, activities, and sports.
I would agree. I would have said something to do with homecoming week, just being involved and finding a way to, it's just such a community experience, and then any sort of club or sport or activity.
I don't know why this popped up. This year I went to the senior sunset for the first time, and it's where all the seniors get together on their last day and they like play hacky sack and catch. And it's just this beautiful like reminder that they're still kids, even though they're moving on, and how much they enjoy each other's company. So that's a long way down the road for some, but an awesome thing that we do.
I think I would just bring it back to like become familiar with the traditions of being a Wayzata High School student and try and be as present as possible. You know, post-pandemic and with technology, it's very easy to get sucked into social media and devices. And I would say if I had a recommendation for families or for new students, especially ninth graders, it's just to be present and get involved and see what the high school has to offer you, because it flies by. I think we can all say that after the fact, and it may not feel like that, especially as a ninth grader, but time does fly.
Last rapid fire question. Favorite food served at the cafe at the high school?
Southwest salad.
No, you can't have the same flavor. That's me. Okay, Southwest Salad Bar is so popular that it's the one day that Salad Bar takes more than one line because so many kids want to eat it. It is truly amazing.
Well, and this is new to Miss Pierscala because we added a line specific to salads for last year. It's a panini and salad line.
Oh.
And on one day of the week, I think it's Wednesdays or maybe Thursdays, they switch the paninis into quesadillas. And I would say that the chicken fajita quesadillas that they offer on that same new line are pretty special. If you were to ask students, they'd probably say orange chicken.
Yeah, they love the orange chicken.
Or like walking tacos is a highlight. We have a pizza day, but
Pizza
the
and
new
burgers.
line is super popular. So,
All right. And as we close, Tyler, if you could give a reminder, where should students go, families go, if they have any questions or want to explore any of this more?
I would say reach out to your student support team. We have a ninth grade parent and any new to Wayzata student orientation. I believe it's the 26th. It's the Tuesday before the school year starts. We invite families to come in. They can come in for either session. We give them an orientation on what their student will experience, but also it's an opportunity to meet the support teams and really get to know who your small team is and who to reach out to if you need support.
Well, Tyler, Alicia, Emily, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the start of the school year, and hopefully it's a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you.